Hey everybody, so this week I'm going to be talking about sex, death, and strawberries. And before I get going here, first I want to thank you guys for getting the previous videos up to nearly 50 likes. So let's see if we can do the same thing with this one. And warning, there is some adult content ahead. So if this is haram or forbidden or not kosher for you, you have been warned. Okay, so let's get into this. So sex, death, and strawberries. What am I talking about? Now, I have covered this topic in my Silent Hill 2 work, sort of, kind of, but I've gone into this a little bit deeper, and I've thought I've thought about this idea where, and it's not really this isn't anything new, by the way. So there is so I could use something like Plato's tripartite of souls, for example. In Plato's soul theory, there are three power centers in the body. There's the mind, the heart, and the gut. And so today I'm talking about the power center of the gut and the relationship with sex and food. Okay, so it's a very interesting thing. So first of all, if you haven't seen the film 9.5 Weeks, it explores this idea, this very intimate relationship with food and sex in a very artful, wonderful way. So I would recommend 9.5 Weeks. If you haven't seen that movie, check it out. So okay, so first of all, the appetites and our sexuality are linked in terms of our survival instincts, as animals, because we are animals, plus more. We have this animal body, we have these survival instincts. And so our base desires include, covering or taking care of our needs in procreation, our needs to feed ourselves, to survive. These are all basic things, and they're actually quite integrally linked, okay? So one thing that I realize with sexuality is there's a lot of, so if you take the word devour, okay, and you think about not only devouring food, but also there's this devouring between sexual partners, okay? There's a lot of, just think about if you've ever seen two people making out heavily, or, someone is using, the mouth is used sexually in all sorts of ways. And there's a certain devouring that happens sexually between partners, okay? So it's almost as if you could eat each other, devour each other like you were food, okay? And this is something that actually happens in the animal kingdom. So there is this interesting relationship to do with the gut and our basic survival needs in terms of procreation and also eating. And one thing I notice with people that are that I have observed anyway, not everyone, again, I'm making general statements, so I'm not singling anyone out. And so I just want to make that clear. But in general, I notice people who are very hypersexual will tend to have big bellies, and that can be true for both men and women. It's not a coincidence that people who are foodies are also, they seem to be more promiscuous. And that's something that I've noticed with people. I don't know if, obviously there's everyone on the spectrum. There are people who are not sexual at all that just like food, and I get that. There are also people who really just don't really like food so much, but maybe they don't like sex either, or maybe they do like sex and they just don't like food. So again, there are always exceptions. Someone can always bring up an exception about themselves or about someone they know. But I think in general, what I have noticed is that people that are really there's a lot of interplay with food and sexuality, and I think that's pretty obvious, right? There is, I could just eat you up, and there's all of these things to do with food that have sexual innuendo. So food and sexual innuendo, and this idea of devouring, okay? This isn't like some sort of coincidence or anything. There's there's a very deep relationship between devouring food and devouring a lover, okay? And so I just thought it was very interesting that there would be this this relationship, and I think it's worth thinking about in terms of kind of our own development as human beings and kind of our own trajectory. If we have a food issue or we have like some hypersexualized sort of way, and that relationship that a lot of times it seems like that a relationship with food and sex kind of go hand in hand, it seems like. So there's this very interesting tie-in between two of those. And if you've seen 9.5 Weeks, then you kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about when there are many scenes where there's this interplay with food used as, like foreplay that's leading to more of this sexual activity that is devouring, right? Partners end up, in a sense, it really feels to me, and it really has this quality of devouring. So it's very interesting that, especially today in this world, there's a lot of fetishism going on, right? And there's a lot of food fetish stuffs where food is just objectified, is made of an object. It's made of a certain thing, and that's also something. Obviously, men are going to fetishize women more, and I think that has to do with just the objectification or the idol making that women are made into idols. You literally have American Idol. Women are made into these objects, or you have this term like trophy wife. And so for men, they can, all a fetish is really in a general sense is making an object of a certain part of a woman. And that's generally, that's the fixation, someone might be an ass man, or like boobs, legs, feet. Hands even. I've heard of certain part of the neck or earlobes. It's kind of nuts. But there's this, there's this like sense of devouring, right? Especially men that will have fetish. And, as a young man myself, in previous decades of my life, I definitely had my fetishes. And I realized that what I was doing was really just objectifying a certain part, hyper-fixating on a certain part, and almost as if it were like some sort of a food. So when someone says, what's your favorite food? If you really think deeply about that, and it may sound preposterous to some people that haven't really thought about this before, but when I really think about it, there's a lot of parts of the human body that can resemble different parts of food too. And so there's this very interesting relationship of devouring both a partner or fetishizing parts of a woman, and then with your favorite food. I think that this relationship is it's quite real, and it's happening at a very like energetic level, on a very low animalistic level. Okay, and that's really what I want to really tie this all in with is. You really want to, because you can fetishize and you can have sex and you can eat in a certain way that's like low level, like an animal, okay, and not really being you can devour something just without any sense of gratitude, and not really think about what it is you're eating, not think about how you're having sex, okay? Not thinking about or feeling into, or not moving up from the gut, right? You not moving up from the gut into the heart, and then into the heart mind, and having this more expanded experience with your food, okay? With your partner sexually, okay? So that's really what I'm talking about, is instead of just fetishizing and operating at a lower level of, being ruled by your gut and, kind of animalistically devouring food and devouring a lover the way that an animal would, okay, because we're more than animals, you can start to move up into the heart space and into the heart mind and open up and expand and start thinking about this relationship that we have with ourselves, with food, with partners, and that kind of thing, and try to expand on that to a point where it's we're not operating on the level of an animal, but we're coming into this very expanded, energetic way of eating, okay, of having sex, a very mindful, soulful, conscious, aware way to have gratitude for everything, including the food we eat, okay, because that's very important, including those that we spend our time with and those that we choose to be our partner, and those that we go to these intimate places in a very real sense. And so we're no longer, we're climbing this energetic ladder. We're climbing this ladder of, of intimacy, so that it's no longer just a lower level animalistic thing, but it's going up and down the chain like Kundalini, right? And so I want you to think about that. And even if, it doesn't have to be even sex or eating necessarily. It can be really in anything that we do. But it's important to recognize that the most basic survival instincts in us, okay, are in large part really responsible for a lot of our motivations in life. And in a very real sense, the power center of the gut is really where it's where we start with, right? It's where we start from, and that is, and there's nothing wrong with embracing this this side of ourselves. However, to stay there and just to operate on that level and not really kind of start to try to expand and grow up and mature in the way we eat, in the way that we make love, also just in the way we interact with others, the way we treat ourselves. We can grow out of this basic sort of gut level, animalistic lower level, and move up the ladder a little bit energetically. So that's just something to think about. I hope that this touches at least a few of you guys and gals, and that you have something to think about in your own life, the way you, orient with food, orient with your partner, orient with yourself. It's a really important thing. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time.